Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now, what happens if you use the worst rated local PC specialist to repair your broken PC? Well, that's exactly what I did. So the thing about sites like Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree is that not only can people offer their products for sale, but they can offer their services as well. If you're a gardener, you can offer landscaping services. If you're a mechanic, you can offer your car repair services. And if you fix PCs, well, you can offer your PC repair services. Now, I decided to investigate this side of things because anyone can advertise their services online, and it got me thinking, if I use the worst rated local PC repair specialist to fix my system, what would the outcome be? Now, to do this, I took a risk with my Ryzen 5 gaming PC, but I replaced the graphics card that's currently in there, the GTX 980, with a GTX 480, an older but fully working card that I was willing to sacrifice. Sorry, old girl. The concept here was simple. I was going to put the fully working 480 in the PC, get in touch with a few PC repair specialists and see who could replace my graphics card and what their plans were for it. Now, of course, this was a fully working card, so I was also interested to see how many of these people would say, this doesn't need a repair, the card is fully working. Now, the first two people I got in contact with immediately came to this conclusion. One was about 15 miles away and had a shop. I took it in, and within half an hour I had a call saying it's not broken at all. The second one was based out of someone's house about 5 or 6 miles away from me, and the same thing happened. An hour or two later they called me and said, although the card probably shouldn't be paired with a Ryzen, it is fully working. Now, the third one is where things get interesting. I found this guy advertising his services on the marketplace, but he had also set up an official page for himself. His name was Jeff, and so I tried to get in contact. He messaged me back on his private Facebook page, which probably should have been the first red flag, and here is the story of how all of this unfolded. Now, Jeff's page was the lowest rated of the others I got in contact with, and he was also a little more abrupt when it came to conversation. I didn't really trust my PC in Jeff's hands, but that's something I'm willing to sacrifice for the purpose of entertainment. Here's the conversation that went down on Friday evening. Well, I started it on Friday evening, but it wasn't until Saturday at 12:44 he got back to me. Hello, my PC isn't displaying a picture. It has been, and all of a sudden it's just stopped. Is that something you can help me with? He replied on Saturday, yeah, no problem. Sounds like a graphics issue. What card have you got, if you got one? I put, going into this pretending I had very little to no PC knowledge, I looked in Device Manager and it says GTX 480, if that's what you mean. His response was, yeah, not a brilliant card, lol. Probably stopped working as it's old. Rude. I then said, oh, okay, is that something you can fix for me, and how much, please? His response, almost immediately, was, yes, can do. Won't be the same card, but will replace with something that's just as good or better.
Just as good or better.
Drop it in and I'll do it by Monday. Will be £100 for the card and £50 for the work. So he's charging £100 for the graphics card itself and then £50 for the labour. Now, I thought this was a little steep, to be honest. It doesn't cost more than probably £20 to replace a graphics card with something that can perform closely or even outperform a GTX 480. It is an old card after all, but everyone's got their prices. Everyone needs to eat, I understand that. It's just that he was a little more expensive than the other two, and considering he was running it out of his house, his costs were probably a little lower also. But so be it. I decided to take him up on the offer and drop the machine off at his house Saturday early evening. Now, I should also mention that at no point did Jeff get in contact with me and say the GTX 480 is still working, you don't need a replacement. He just did the work, which, again, fair enough, I guess. Well, not really, but let's take a look at the end result, shall we? So, this is my newly repaired system. For £150 we have a new, well, technically refurbished graphics card, and it seems like Jeff decided the power supply should be installed the other way around. Fair enough. There wasn't much ground clearance, but I can't say as of yet whether this new airflow configuration is beneficial. Everything else is thankfully unaltered. When I picked my PC up, I was shown it working and told that the old GTX 480 was indeed broken, but it had been responsibly recycled. Expect to see that on eBay. Now, we know for a fact the card was fine, but I guess Jeff decided it needed swapping out anyway. Thing is, the replacement doesn't look much newer. I couldn't tell at first glance, but I asked what card would be replacing the broken one when I dropped it off, and asked the same thing when I picked it up. Both times I got the response, it's an Nvidia GTX card that will be just as good as the one it replaced. Nothing specific model-wise. But is it any good? Before I took my PC round to Jeff's on Saturday, I benchmarked a couple of games with the old 480 just so we'd have a couple of comparative figures. The two games were Dirt Rally 2, a fairly easy to run title, as well as Kingdom Come Deliverance, a game that was notoriously hard to run at release, though thankfully has seen some optimisations. The 480 was able to manage 39 frames per second in Kingdom Come, with percentile figures of 33 and 21. This was at 1080p with low settings. Not bad for an old beast, and to be honest I could deal with that just fine, given that there wasn't really much stutter either. Dirt Rally 2 fared slightly worse with 32 FPS on average at the medium settings, but we were still hitting at least 30 FPS, which is only a good thing, and it's not a bad result considering once again the age of the card. These results mean that the replacement card should be able to match these figures if Jeff kept his promise. After all, it would cost nowhere near £100 to find a card with equal performance to this one. So, just what is this new GPU? Well, considering the serial number and model name were missing from the shroud, it was up to GPU-Z to reveal all. It seems we have a GT545, which is essentially a cut-down GTX 550 Ti. It can be found for about £12 CEX. Jeff's got himself an incredible profit margin, I'll give him that. So, let's put the daylight robbery to one side for now. Is this a suitable 480 replacement? Well, yeah, about that. Now, starting with the same couple of games for the comparative results, and Kingdom Come Deliverance didn't do as well. Not quite, anyway, let's just say that. With the 545, we were averaging 13 frames per second with 1% and 0.1% lows of 12. At least that indicates that there was no heavy lag or stutter, but when you're running at 13 FPS, that doesn't really make too much of a difference. At first I thought this was just a problem with the drivers. I then thought perhaps it was just the game itself. Maybe the 545 didn't agree with Kingdom Come and we'd have more luck in Dirt Rally 2. With the same settings, 1080p medium, well, the story wasn't much better. We were averaging 11 frames per second with 1% lows and 0.1% lows of 8 and 8 respectively. Again, this indicates no stutter whatsoever, but with such a low frame rate, that's kind of irrelevant. I'm sure you could tweak it a little bit more to squeeze a few more frames out of the games, such as using a lower resolution or maybe even lower settings where possible, but that's sort of besides the point in this instance. Comparing them directly with equal settings doesn't exactly provide us with an equal match as far as frame rate is concerned, so I don't think we really got our money's worth here as far as a direct replacement is concerned, but yeah, the things I do for entertainment. Oh, my poor 480. So with the comparative results aside and dealing with the fact that the 545 is in no way a decent replacement for the 480, I decided to test a couple of other games to see how well this card could actually do, starting with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. At 1080p once again with the very low preset, we were averaging somewhere around the mid-20s. Not a brilliant result, and one that could possibly be alleviated with a drop in resolution to 720p, but all in all, it's not exactly a fantastic gaming experience here. The same can be said for Resident Evil 7, which was giving us very similar results, in fact to PUBG at 1080p, once again with a mixture of low and normal. This didn't really help because the game, which runs quite well on some older hardware, wasn't running very well at all here. Now, older games such as The Elder Scrolls Oblivion will run fine. I had to fire this up, give it a test, and it turns out that 60 FPS is no problem. To conclude, if you'd rather take your PC into a shop to have any parts replaced or anything repaired, then I strongly suggest you do some serious research, check out the reviews, do your homework, and it's always better, in my experience, to take it to a brick and mortar store, a business that's long been established. You will pay more than if you were to replace any parts yourself, but that's just the way it is, unfortunately. I would strongly recommend looking up how to replace any parts yourself. If you've never done it before, it's not that difficult. Replacing a graphics card especially is super simple. It's a matter of slotting the old one out, slotting the new one in, and providing your power supply is, well, powerful enough, you should have no issues. In terms of this machine, well, I don't think I'm going to be contacting Jeff anymore. He was quite a scary man in person. I don't want to bring my PC back to his house. I'll write this one off as a business expense, but you know, but I just wanted to sort of demonstrate what can go wrong should you just opt for anyone to replace your PC. There are many people out there, anyone can set up their own business these days, so it's important to do your research before taking your precious belongings, especially your computer, to just anyone to repair it. But there we have it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like on it down below. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Let me know if you have any PC repair horror stories in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one.